In this video, I'm going to share 5 time management tips that you can implement as a dadpreneur that will give you hours back every single week. By far, the biggest thing that I hear when I talk to people on my Instagram page or I work with my one-on-one clients, the number one challenge that dadpreneurs have is they feel like they just don't have enough time to both grow their business and be there for their family, take care of themselves, for their health routines, all of that good stuff. And I 100% get it. I've got 2 girls, a 4.5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. I do endurance events. I've trained for Ironmans, ultras. I'm married. I am my faith is really important to me, and I get it. There's a lot that is on your plate. And so since so many people have reached out about this, I wanted to do a video to share some of the 5 tips that have helped me not only grow my 6-figure business, help me train for endurance events, but just help me eliminate that sense of overwhelm that we can experience on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis. So let's dive into it. The first thing that I would say, if you are struggling with feeling like you don't have enough time and you're feeling like you're juggling, the number one thing is to eliminate the non-essentials. And so what I mean by that is look at all the ways over the past week or the past 24 hours where you're currently wasting time, and look at which of those things are non-essential. One of the easiest ways to do that is literally look at your iPhone and look at how you actually spent your time on your phone. You are going to see some of the apps, probably social media, maybe scrolling, different things like that, and figure out how much time are you actually spending on that. Once you look at those apps, you're going to want to ask yourself, is this essential? Is this something that's actually helping me get closer to my goals or further away? Because the number one thing that you can do to get more hours back in your day or in your week is to stop wasting it on things that are not helping you. And this is where you actually have to have clarity. What are my goals? What am I working towards? So that you can just say no to the things that are not helping you. And I think that this is so important because we all are wasting time. We all have things that we're doing that are not helping us get closer to our goals. And when you start eliminating some of those things, you start to recognize that you do actually have the time, you do have the energy, you do have the ability to take action on what you want. And so you can even just come up with a couple of rules. Like for me, I used to spend a lot of time watching football on the weekends, but I was working a full-time job in a corporate career. I started to have young kids. I was training for Ironmans and ultras, and I started to realize I can't be watching football for 6 hours on Sunday and 6 hours on Saturday. So I'm just going to watch one football game a weekend. That's just a rule that I started doing. And that is something that has given me hours back every weekend so that I can hang out with my girls, so that I can work on my business, so that I can just spend time with the people that I love. So that is the number one thing that I would recommend if you're trying to get more hours back in your day or your week is, number one, eliminate the non-essentials. Look at all the ways that you're wasting time and stop doing those things. So that is number one. Number 2 is you've got to change your beliefs around time. So I can usually tell when I'm talking to somebody, either through a conversation like this or through the DMs and conversations that I'm having on Instagram, what your beliefs are about time. Because the number one limiting belief that people have about time is, I just don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. If you keep telling yourself that you don't have enough time, that's actually the thought that is making you feel overwhelmed. And one way I like to think about this is just time is universal. We all have 24 hours in a day. If you were to ask Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, some professional athletes, what they think about time, they wouldn't say oh, I don't have enough time to run all of these businesses. They figure out ways to create time, and they make time for the things that are important to them. And so that's the shift that you need to go from. You need to stop telling yourself that you don't have enough time, and you need to flip it and tell yourself something more empowering. I do have enough time. I make time for the things that are important to me. I create time and space for the things that matter. And when you start to realize that you make time for the things that are important to you, then you can just ask yourself, is this actually important to me or not? Because a lot of times you are telling yourself, I don't have enough time, when really that's just an excuse. Because if it's really important to you, if you actually give a shit, then you're going to make time for it. If growing your business is really a priority for you, then you're going to make time for that. If doing outreach and finding new clients and finding new prospects is important to you, then make time for it. If having a great relationship with your wife is important to you, then make time for it. Prioritize it on a daily or a weekly basis. Make time for the things that matter to you and tell yourself that I make time for the things that matter, and watch how that changes how you feel and how you actually plan on a daily or a weekly basis. So that is number 2. Number 3 is super simple, but I would say 90% of people don't do this. And this is just planning your week. And one of the most helpful frames that it was taught about how to think about time and how to plan for time is you've got to separate your strategy from your execution. So here's what I mean by that. When you separate strategy from execution, you plan your strategy ahead of time. And so it's almost like a general that's leading an army. The general is the one who's looking ahead at what's happening, and he comes up with the strategy, and he decides what you are going to do in a battle. But then the soldier is the one who actually executes those orders. And so there's strategy and there's execution. There's the general and then there's the soldier. And you as an entrepreneur, you actually need to play both roles. And so what you need to first do is you need to separate that strategy from the execution. So an easy way to do that is either every Sunday or every Friday afternoon, you've got to look at how your week went and you have to plan ahead. And the easiest way to do this is on Sunday or first thing Monday, last thing on Friday afternoon, decide what are the 3 most important things that you are going to get done the next week. And then just write those down in extreme clarity. So that way you have the strategy for what you're going to do before the week even starts. And then once you are in the week, once it's Monday morning, once it's Tuesday morning, once it's Wednesday morning, you already know what success looks like and you can just execute that plan. And this is, again, it's such a simple concept, but I would estimate that 80 to 90% of people don't actually plan their weeks. There are 168 hours in a week. We all get the same amount of time. And that's where if you have a business, if you have family, if you have health, things that you really care about, then you've got to plan ahead of time. And the easiest way to do that is decide ahead of time what success looks like. Choose those 3 things, make them as specific as possible, and then schedule off when you are going to work on those 3 things. If you do just this one thing, I can almost guarantee that you will double your productivity by just knowing what you're going to do ahead of time. And then the key thing there is time blocking. And a big mistake that a lot of people make when they do this is they plan their week on a Sunday, they lay it all out, they plan out their whole week, and then boom, something comes up and you have to adjust. And that's where the 4th tip comes in. And this is where you've got to learn how to reset and how to have resilience throughout the week. So one of the main ways that you are wasting your time is by just being overwhelmed. One of the main ways that you're wasting your time is by starting to get thrown off by the adversity that pops up in a given week. Because the truth is you can come up with the perfect plan, but shit is going to happen. Things are going to go wrong and you've got to be able to adjust. And so when you're resilient, things come up and they don't necessarily throw you off. But when you're not resilient, some sort of adversity comes up, a sale falls through, somebody, maybe if you have employees, somebody doesn't follow through on what you told them to do, and that could throw you off for a couple of hours. Maybe you're overwhelmed, maybe you're pissed off, maybe you're angry, maybe you're tired, and that could throw you off for 1, 2, 3, 4 hours. Well, guess what? You just wasted basically 4 hours. And so that's why one of the most important skills is to learn how to recognize when you're off, have the tools to reset and rebound quickly so that you can then spend a majority of your time in a really empowered state, in a very productive state, and actually get more things done. So it's not necessarily about knowing exactly what the plan is. It's also about being able to adjust and be flexible and be resilient when things don't go your way. Because guess what? Things are not really going to go your way 100% of the time. And what that means is you've got to get really good at adjusting and dealing with that skill. So this is really more about emotional management and adjusting and resilience rather than just simple productivity. Most people are not talking about this. Most people don't think about this, but time management is almost more so about emotional management than it is just about simply productivity. And if you are just focusing on time management without the emotional resilience and the emotional management piece, you're missing out on one of the biggest opportunities for you to get a lot more time back. So that is number 4. Number 5, we're coming in with review your week every single week. So a big mistake that people make is like, all right, I'm going to, try and get on top of my time management. I'm going to implement a new routine, and then you try it and something comes up, and then you just decide that you're overwhelmed and things didn't go your way. And then you just kind of throw it out and you just decide, okay, yeah, time management and time blocking and this stuff doesn't really work. Whereas the truth is that you need to be able to iterate. You need to experiment. And the way that comes is by just trying it for a week, experimenting with it, and just making different adjustments every single week. And the best way to do this is to have a weekly review process where at the end of the week, you review the previous week, what went well, how did I do a good job, but what didn't go well, and what sorts of changes and adjustments do I need to make this next week. So it's part reflection on the previous week, and then it's part planning, just like we talked about with number 3 is like planning what does success look like for the next week. You've got to develop an experimentation mindset. You've got to be consistent with it, and you've got to just iterate over time. Because the truth is, any of these 5 tips, if you just do it once, it might help you. But what's ultimately going to change your business, change your mindset, and change your life and your systems is when you do this consistently on a weekly basis and you implement small changes over time. So those are the 5 tips, and let's just recap them. All right. So number 1 was eliminate the non-essentials and stop wasting your time on things that are not helping you get closer to your goals. This is one of the most important things. One of the easiest ways to get a lot of hours back in your day and your week is just eliminate the things that are wasting your time. Number 2 is we got to change your beliefs about time. Stop telling yourself you don't have time. Instead, tell yourself you make time for what's important. Number 3, plan your week ahead of time. Before the week starts, you should know what are the 3 most important things that you need to do on a weekly basis. Number 4 is you need to learn how to reset, how to recharge and be resilient and work on the emotional management side, not just the time management side. And then number 5, you've got to do this process and review every single week and be iterative and experiment with it on a weekly basis. Because I swear to God, if you do this process and you stick with it week after week, month after month, you are going to see some drastic changes in your mindset, in your business, and you're just going to get a lot more, done, and you're going to do it in a way where it doesn't feel overwhelming. It doesn't feel like a grind. It feels a lot more peaceful. So those are the 5 tips. I hope that helps. And one of the things that I want to share with you that could possibly make this a lot easier is in the description below. I'm going to link my weekly review document. This is the document that I go through every single week, which is based off of a high performance routine that I learned 4 or 5 years ago. I've been doing this every single week for the past 4 to 5 years, where I reflect on my previous week, what went well, what didn't go well. I have a short assessment, and then I look ahead at the upcoming week. If you want access to it, you can either get it through the description below, or you can go on Instagram. It's just mario.minert, and DM me the word time, and I'll send it over to you. I really feel like this is something that is super important. A lot of dadpreneurs are struggling with this, and I want to help you level up. So let me know in the comments below or by DM me on Instagram if this was helpful. And until next time, I'll see you all later.